Hi guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm here with Eli, and it's February 24th, 2024. Hard to believe, of course.
Next week is March.
Almost March, right? It means St. Patrick's Day is a few weeks away. Always a
Yeah.
good day. So, thanks for joining us. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. Of course, our monologue, which is Eli is going to handle the monologue this week. It's kind of funny because when we were talking before the show, we both had the same idea about what the monologue was going to be. So I'll turn it over to Eli. But this is, of course, is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York. Eli,
All
take
right,
it
let's get
away.
this show started underway with the monologue. And let's talk about that stadium series that happened last week for the NHL. We could say that stadium series was so exciting. You have to keep talking about it every single day of the week. That's how exciting there was. And the stadium series took place in MetLife Stadium, which is a football stadium. And well, I guess you could say it was the right occasion as both teams, both winning teams, the Devils and the Rangers, both scored a touchdown in the final score with 6 points. Devils win 6-3, Rangers 6-5 in overtime. The stadium series. Well, I was at the stadium series for the Devils game as a Devils fan that I am. It
Yes,
was
you were.
exciting. I'll start with the Fan Fest. The Fan Fest happened outside, presented by New Amsterdam Vodka. It was a lot of fun. They had the Stanley Cup picture, which I will show at the end of the show. Uh, they had the Stanley Cup, a lot of games, activities, merchandise, everything you could think of. It was a very well organized event. The crowd levels pretty decent in the Fan Fest, which I was very happy about. Inside the stadium, some merchandise all around, normal food vendors. Believe it or not, people still bought a lot of beers for the adults there. I thought they went in with the cold, but they wanted to keep warm, I
Of
guess, in
course.
their minds. that's
Yeah.
that's how I go. We sat in seats 225B, folks, and that was actually a pretty good view of the puck. We could see the puck clearly, and I heard from other people they were in the 300s too, and they saw the puck pretty good. They saw the game very well. The music was good. They had Jonas Brothers on the
Yeah.
Devil's Day, AJR for the Rangers Day. It was a very fun night weekend. The fireworks are good. There was a flyover for the Rangers, which I thought that was cool to see. Controversial goal with the Rangers. It was a fantastic weekend that is so memorable. And I think, in my opinion, it is better than the whole baseball setup and the Winter Classic. I like the Stadium Series, and not just because you could fit more people, and I'm not talking about the 150,000 people that storm MetLife this weekend, but just overall, like a baseball field, like you're just seem like you're on an angle when you're watching the hockey game. When you're at the football stadium, it's like straight, it's normal. I don't know, the energy in a football stadium seems different than at a baseball stadium for hockey. Now,
Mhm.
I've never been to a baseball stadium for an outdoor game. But from what I heard from other people in our section, the stadium series at MetLife Stadium and at a football stadium in general is incredible and exciting. And obviously,
Great.
next year will be Ohio State that will host the NHL Stadium Series. I believe it'll be the Red Wings and the Blue Jackets, if I'm not mistaken.
In the
Uh,
horseshoe, huh?
the
Yeah.
Horseshoe, yep, the Ohio State
Right.
Buckeyes. And it was a fun weekend, a lot of fun at the game. But I think the hype got to the Devils, and I'll start with the Devils first because they headed into Washington with all the hype that they had. Such a fun week in the Stadium Series. They lost 6-2. They lost the Rangers pretty bad the other day. Now they have a doubleheader this weekend. So from the Devils' standpoint, I guess you could say from the Stadium Series, hype them up, but not too hype. When you come to the bring up two more points real quick before we conclude the monologue. Viewership was up. We had over 1.57 million views for the Rangers Islanders game on ABC, 113 for Devils Flyers. The Stadium Series definitely brought ABC and ESPN's market to life with that game. And I think because the NBA had a boring All Star weekend, which we'll talk about in a little bit, merchandise was up, a lot of thousand fans, great weekend, exciting atmosphere. Now, in my opinion, what I think they should do, but unfortunately, I don't think will ever happen, each year, I believe the NHL should choose one stadium and have each conference, East, West, or one of them, play there for the whole week. That's what I want them to do because I think that'll
Well,
be pretty cool. I think it's a lot. I think it takes away from the moment, but it would be a really cool idea to put into play. But that's my monologue, my thoughts on Stadium Series. Jim, go ahead.
well, way to go. I agree with you 100% that you and I have talked about this extensively before that the NHL needs to do things like this to start getting a broader base of fans, not just in, the Rangers, the Devils. And I mean, the setting was amazing. I mean, I enjoyed it immensely watching the Rangers Islanders. And, I've been watching Ranger Islanders games for 100 years kind of thing. And
Right.
the stadium, it just, the venue looked great. The only thing I did see is, I know there was a slight delay in the Ranger game because of sun glare on the ice late in the
Yeah.
afternoon.
And
And
I
I
think
did see they had a view of the outside of the stadium, and it looked like a mob scene to get into the game. Not long before the game started, but I'm guessing people didn't mind the cold, and it really was just a great showcase by the NHL, and it turned out to be a great game. Not only because I'm a Ranger fan and you're a Devils fan, but
right.
you're a hockey fan. This was an absolute
Fantastic weekend.
100% hit it out of the park thing. It was great.
Yeah. And I
Absolutely
think I
great.
I just want to bring up 2 points I think that you made perfectly. That I think definitely the sun afternoon game versus the nighttime game with the Devils definitely played a factor in it, how the ice was and how it all factored out. I think that was a huge factor into the game. Smart NHL
Yep.
decision to see the comparison between the two games. The Rangers game was exciting, especially that overtime winning goal. The net was knocked off. It was a good goal, which did count, right? Goal by the refs.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was a good weekend. Getting into the same, I think, wasn't too bad from my experience, Jim. I think with the Fan Fest, it was a little bit of a line, but the stadium did open at 5:30 for the Jonas Brothers at 6:30 and the game at 8 o'clock. So I think that was all right. But for the Rangers, I could
Yeah.
see because it was only a 2-hour difference and parking was expensive, $40, folks. So that's why they encourage mass transit at the games. That's right, $40 for parking at MetLife Stadium. That includes football and baseball, football and hockey prices as well.
Well, no question. It was definitely a home run for the NHL. And it was an exciting game. And I'm glad that you had an opportunity to go. And we're going to show you a picture with the Stanley Cup later on in the show. So
Yep.
Excellent job. Excellent job.
Thank you.
So now, conversely, right, we're all having football withdrawal, of course, right? Super Bowl over and so forth. So now we got to turn our focus to what else is going on, and we covered extensively. And the NBA, and you and I talked about it a little bit before. In the old days, the All-Star game was a big deal in the NBA. Now, none of these guys even want to be associated with it and look what happened, 200 and something to 180. I mean, it's all it is for the kids. It's a shoot around for the pros. I don't see the hype, but you know what? Overall, and I've told you this before, Eli, like Adam Silver, he knows how to get mileage out of an all-star game weekend. And, it was tons of people. And for the little kids and the 3-point, that was a different thing with Curry and Caitlin Clark. I think it was, right? Was it Caitlin? No,
Sabrina. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, my thoughts, James, here. The final score is 211 to 185 for 400 points to be scored in the stadium for a All-Star weekend game. That's a little controversial. 400 points in an All-Star game. Are we kidding? Come on. There was nothing. That was boring. Absolutely boring. Yeah. Meanwhile, that was the center of attention was this All-Star week. It's going to be great. Listen, Indianapolis did a fantastic job. I love the LED court. I thought that was fantastic what Indianapolis did. But for 400 points to be scored in an All-Star game, come on, man. Really? Now,
I mean, we talked about this before, not even just in the All-Star game. They don't play defense in the NBA at all anymore. That's why we're seeing 140 points scored in NBA games, which is just unheard of. It's
Absolutely.
crazy.
Now, to my 2 points that I'll bring up real quick for the NBA side of things. I thought the 3-point contest was fantastic. I thought that was well done by the NBA. They brought excitement to the thing, and I think everybody loves 3-point contests because it's a gamble with 3 points. Can you make it or you don't make it? And the shots that you make is pretty incredible when it comes to 3 points and all that. The All-Star game itself, that was boring. But what is wrong with this year and All-Star events? You look at the NHL, they did not have such an exciting game either. The game was pretty much boring. It was not as high scoring as it usually is. And the skills events were okay. They were nothing special as the previous years. NFL, on the other hand, you had guys playing flag football in Orlando. I mean, Come on. Something
Yeah.
with this year in the All-Star was really a disappointment. I guess you could say to least. The least. There was nothing exciting about it. All leagues have to change up their like all-star thing. And I was like my little pet peeve, like the all-star weekend was like really a bust, I guess you could say, in the best way
Well,
possible.
I don't know what the NBA or any of these sports can do to make all-star games more exciting. Like I said, I remember the days when the NBA, the all-star game was actually a watchable event. You had guys like Michael Jordan and all
Right.
these other guys who really wanted to be there. It meant something and it was exciting. But now I guess maybe now that I'm on the other side of middle age, I guess I just doesn't have that allure for me anymore. So
Well, yeah, you could make a point, but and there's always a way, Jim. I think that's the key. And I think
yeah,
Walt Disney says the best when he says for Disneyland. Disneyland will never say the same. It's always going to have change, and that's going to be like all sports. There's always going to be a change, and the All Star for all sports, not just the NBA. I feel will definitely have a change because that was a little bit of a very boring experience, not just from the NBA side, but from the NFL side, the NHL side. It was boring.
yeah,
It was not fun. There's definitely going to be some changes
right.
happening. There is no question about it. I am, it's just a matter of when the changes are going to happen, how it's going to happen. And what I want to say quickly first, before we move off of this, if the NHL can perfect so well the outdoor games, specifically the stadium series that happened this weekend, how can they perfect like an all-star game? That's like you now have to put the once you had the All Star game as the top level notch. Now you got to compare it to the NHL Stadium Series. How can you beat something like that from the NHL perspective and as all the other sports? Now I get it. Outdoor hockey is different from an indoor or like a different team style
Yeah,
sport. But
yeah.
that's how that to me that's a new level bar. Even though it has nothing to do with an All Star break and not counting for points. That's just in my opinion. I think you have to set the standard. How can you make it like the Stadium Series? That's how I
Well,
view it.
what they're trying to do, and again, you have to be careful with this to make it, super competitive. You run the risk of injuries, and then your season could be completely, in the garbage. So I see what the NHL did. They've started compensating guys for the skills competition and so
Right.
forth, and they'll probably have to do that in the NBA or pay these guys to play in the
I'm
NBA
sure right now,
also.
Jim, that's been happening all along, but they're not trying to tell us.
Yeah, I'm imagining so. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. But as far as the NBA season, right? I mean, we got the first half of the season, which is normally meaningless for the most part, right?
Pretty
Because
much.
it's
And we
such
had
a
this whole
long.
in-season tournament too, which took away absolutely 100%.
Yeah, I don't know what that even did to enhance anything watchability of the NBA. But I've been looking at the NBA and who's probably the most surprising guy that come out of the NBA this season has got to be this Shea Gilgis Alexander for Oklahoma City. I mean,
Yeah. I
nobody,
mean,
I never really even knew anything about him. I mean, I'm
no,
not a diehard NBA fan.
the whole hype was for the Spurs and Wimbenyama, but they're not even in the top 10 charts right now. That
Yeah.
says something. You look
Well,
at these
they're in a
other
rebuilding mode anyway.
they're in a rebuilding mode, but still, you had Wembyama. Oh, this is the hype. Let's all attack Spurs. This is the new future. He is the new Wayne Gretzky of the NBA, as an example, or Michael Jordan. Of our time period.
Yeah.
I
And,
don't see it
you
yet.
know, and when you look at the NBA, I really don't think, before the season started, it looked, as soon as the Bucks got Damian Lillard, that kind of almost made them a shoe in to get to the NBA Finals at least. And
Right.
I don't know if that's the case. Is it parity or is there just mediocrity? I don't know what the right answer is.
I
But
honestly don't know either, but it's gonna be it's pretty much a gamble the rest of the ride here. Halfway through the
yeah,
season.
Yeah, so just a couple other quick notes from the NBA. Obviously, the Nets have been quite a disappointment. Still recovering from that failed experiment of Durant and
They
Harden
fired the head
and
coach.
Irvin. But you know what? They fired Jacques Vaughn. They named Kevin Ollie. Now, Kevin Ollie, I don't know if a lot of people even know, but he won a national championship with UConn
Yeah.
a few years back, and now he's back on the scene. He left. There was a lot of controversy about what went on at UConn during his tenure, but if he's kind of corrupt like everybody else seems to be, then he'll fit right in with the NBA because I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it goes. And you
Yeah.
see guys like now, uh, the Golden State Warriors just gave a 2-year extension to Steve Kerr for 2 years, $35 million. So if everybody's thinking that the NBA is not making money, they are printing money to be able to pay that kind of thing. And this is for a Warriors team that obviously is on the decline. Curry's getting older. Green's not the player that he was. Klay Thompson's not the player that he was. So they're going to be in a rebuilding mode too. But it still looks like the Celtics got it all together. The Lakers they're a hit or miss, right? James is going to start taking some games off, and what they do now, because there's a league mandate that you got to play in X number of games, so you fake an injury, and that's what they'll do for teams like the Lakers and so forth. So obviously, I think the Denver Nuggets are still a team to beat. This guy Jokic is really some kind of a player. He just puts up
Yeah, he is.
triple doubles night after night, and so there is great talent in the NBA. It just something for me is not drawing me into watching regular season. I'll watch the playoffs, but because I like to watch good talent, but the regular season really in the NBA doesn't mean an awful lot. And now we're talking a year ago, everybody in New York wanted to run Randall out of the stadium, right?
Yeah, we have a comment coming in here. Have you ever had a chance to visit Europe and be at a football basketball stadium there? The fans in Europe are crazy. Smoke flares, sing the whole game. No, I have not. But I will say this: it sounds like a lot of fun based off of what I see on television.
Oh,
Jim, have
wow. I
you had
wish
this
I
experience?
actually knew who that was. That's a good comment, though, because like I said, we know they've been doing this stuff in Europe for years and years and years. And
But have you had
that's
the
a good
experience, Jim?
comment. Huh?
Have you ever been to Europe? Have you had that experience?
I've only been to Amsterdam. That's
Oh,
that's
okay.
the only part of Europe I've been at.
Yeah. We
But
have a
one of my
comment again
brothers
from.
went to a soccer game and I think in Barcelona, I think it was, and he said the experience there to catch
It's
it was
unbelievable.
outstanding.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And we got
And we
an
have,
email from Eric Tenbrook, who
yep,
is
Eric. The comment is from Eric. Good morning to all, and good morning, Eric, for watching.
Yep.
And to all, don't forget to comment from any of our topics that we've been discussing. We'd love to hear it,
Yep.
or send an email to sportswithmano@gmail.com.
All right. So listen, let's stick with basketball. Let's move on to the NCAA. And as you can see, I'm wearing my Providence Friars new shirt because I had an opportunity to go to a college game last week, Big East game up in Providence. It was Providence versus DePaul. Not like it's UConn or Villanova, that kind of thing, but the atmosphere is excellent. And we were gracious enough to get tickets from Kim English, who's the head coach at Providence. So I wanted to send a thank you out to him. Little ties into our family. So that was a very nice gesture on his part. Unfortunately, I didn't get an opportunity to meet with them because once the game is over, everyone clears the court and so forth. But excellent experience, and college basketball starting to get that. You can feel the March Madness starting to generate and get ready.
Yeah.
And,
when you think about it, once the All-Star weekends conclude, the Super Bowl ends, you think of St. Patrick's Day coming up, and you also think of the March Madness, which is the greatest event sports has, in my opinion. Super Bowl is great, but nothing competes against March Madness with the upsets, the level of talent, the games, and the Final Four weekend. Nothing beats it.
I agree. And look who's number one. UConn, the defending champ, is still the number one.
And we were just talking about them.
Right. Excellent. Right. So you got UConn and you got Houston as 1 and 2 right now. But look at the other teams. Purdue has been playing well all year, but it's tough to hold on to that number 1 ranking. It really doesn't mean a lot, to be quite honest, but it does give an opportunity to showcase the talent that UConn has and Houston has and Purdue, right? Zach Edey, you see, this guy's going to be in the NBA next year, so it's a good opportunity to watch it. And I couldn't agree more that March Madness is one of the most exciting sporting things for
No
2
question.
weeks. It's just outstanding. It really
Absolutely.
is. So if you got an opportunity to go catch a college game, do it because it's
Or if there's
exciting.
March Madness in your area. I don't know if it's coming at the Garden this year or Prudential Center. I don't know where in our area.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. We'll fill you guys in on where what the host city is for the Final Four. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that. Let's see.
Yeah, so but college basketball is starting to ramp up, and when you think about what time of the year it is, when we're talking about getting ready for March Madness, that leads us into spring training, and pitchers and catchers have reported, and so again, when they talk about a long season, 162 games is quite a long season in Major League Baseball. So
this year's gonna be played at State Farm Stadium, Arizona State University. In Phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phoenix is a hot town for sporting venues nowadays.
And apparently the first and second round will be played in Barclays Center on March 22nd to 24th. It'll be the Atlantic 10 Conference, according to NCAA.
All right. I'm still holding out hopes for my Niagara Purple Eagles they're going to have to actually win the MAC tournament to get a bid, but I don't think we're going to have to worry about them winning the national championship. But
yeah, I don't think so, but you could always have hope.
We can. So that leads us into spring training, and when you look at stuff that's going on, if you look on paper, and again on paper, the Los Angeles Dodgers don't seem to have a team that couldn't win it all. I mean, now they got one of the best pitchers in the world, and God, I keep forgetting how to say his name.
Shohei Ohtani?
No, the other one. The other guy that they signed, that the Yankees didn't sign. So
Juan Soto?
No. The pitcher, Yamamoto, I think. Yeah, Yamamoto.
Right? All right, we'll go with that.
But on paper, they look amazing. And when you look in the New York thing, right? The Yankees, I really have to say, I didn't see a heck of a lot of improvement. They did get Soto. That's a big deal. He'll help them win some games. But they don't have that pitching staff that's, to go 100.
That's there to save the day.
Right. So
now, what about from the Mets standpoint? What do you see about them?
Well, I got to tell you, because I've been thinking about why we're even talking about this. And I guess it's just the media trying to make things like the Mets are going to play hardball with Pete Alonso. The guy he's the face of the franchise. They will sign him. He will stay in New York. And he's going to get record amount of money. He's going to get Aaron Judge type money. Although when you look at it, the difference between Judge and Alonso, both power hitters, both can hit 40 to 50 home runs. But Judge is really a two-way player. He's outstanding in the field. And at first base, Alonso is certainly capable, but not the best first baseman in baseball. So that'll keep his number a little bit lower. And I did see, though, and this is one pitcher that I thought the Mets had gotten a great steal on, and that was Kodai Senga. But now I always thought he had an opportunity in the next couple of years to win a Cy Young in New York. But he is already experiencing some shoulder issues, and that's not good for them. So, I'm not expecting any big things to happen in New York. But when you look at certain things with the Yankees, right? I saw that Gio Urshela, former Yankee, signed a 1-year, $1.5 million contract with the Tigers. Now, $1.5 million it seems like obviously is a paltry number to Major League Baseball players.
Right.
But the Yankees could have offered him, say, I'll give you 2 years at $7 million or something, because he's proven he's an outstanding utility player. He's still effective. And that was something I scratched my head about. Like, why are they is he only getting a $1.5 million? He's been a good ball player. But those are the kind of utility players that you need, because you don't know what you're going to get out of DJ LeMahieu. I'm a big fan of his, but he's been oft injured in the past couple of seasons, and father time starts to creep up to you. You're not the player that you were, so they're counting on things like that to get them through the year, and I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think so. I think you brought it up perfectly well, and
Yeah, so we'll see, right?
we'll see how it goes. It's just gonna gamble from here on
Yep.
out and see how the regular
So
season plays out.
it's early. It's early. It's in the spring training thing, and um, I guess opening day is pushed out a little. Was it a little bit later this year? I think somebody mentioned that.
Some
For some
maybe.
reason.
Let's see. I'll double check on the opening day.
I wonder if that's because of leap year or something. I
Thursday,
don't know.
March 28th. So I guess yeah, it's a little late because technically that's good. Holy Thursday, yeah, Holy Thursday. If you're yeah 9:30, yeah, that's right before Easter weekend.
I mean, because I've been to opening days in Yankee Stadium where it's actually snowed. So I mean,
wow, I don't think I've ever seen that before, but I'm glad you witnessed it.
I did. So that's good, right? So a couple other quick things. I wanted to touch base on golf because, like I said, we're not too far away from the Masters, right? It's always the first weekend in April, so we're probably 5 or 6 weeks tops away, which is always something that it has so much lore and so much history for me, and I can't wait for that to happen. And there's a notable thing from this year's Masters. Vern Lundquist, who's been calling Masters tournaments for 40 years. This will be his final Masters. He's in his 80s now. Wow. But you can always remember one of his famous calls when Jack Nicklaus sank that putt to win the Masters in 1986. It was Vern Lundquist's call. It says, "Yes, sir." It's one of the famous calls of all time from a golf perspective. So he has been a consummate pro forever. And, he certainly will be missed on the broadcast from the Masters.
And I think that's how we're going to feel this year when it comes to the NCAA and not seeing Jim Nantz there and making the final calls. I think that's going to feel weird.
I forgot about that. He's not doing it anymore, right?
It's hard to remember and think of it, but you think of NCAA March Madness, you think of Jim Nantz right away. When you come to those incredible calls and those crazy moments, it's going to feel weird, not hearing Jim Nantz's voice. And I think we're going to have to get used to it when it comes both to the golf standpoint, as you just mentioned, and for the NCAA March Madness.
Yeah, I don't even know who is replacing Jim Nantz.
It might be Ian Eagle. I could be wrong. Let's see. I'll take a look.
All right.
Please.
But anyway, so Vern Lundquist to me is a staple, just like Jim Nantz has been.
Ian Eagle.
Used to be Ian Eagle. Okay, good choice.
Yeah,
he's a pro.
He's a good choice. He did very good with the NFL calls, and he's
no doubt.
With NBA calls. I think he'll be perfectly fine. Yeah, I have no problem with it. Not gonna be Jim Nantz, but still pretty good pick, in my opinion.
Yep. But one other note from the world of golf, and Hideki Matsuyama won the Genesis Open last week. And what's notable about that makes him the all-time winningest Asian player on the PGA Tour, surpassing 8 victories by KJ Choi. Now, KJ Choi, and I know you don't remember him. I certainly do. But he was an outstanding player, and he always battled against, Nick Faldo and all those guys. So that was part of it. And this guy Matsuyama he's an up and comer. He's got one of the most beautiful swings. It's so relaxed. It's amazing. Wow. But I'm definitely going to miss Vern Lundquist at Augusta. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Eli. Let's move right on. I got some random points of interest.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah. So of course that's sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut, and go ahead, Eli. Let's get your random points up front.
All right. Well, let's start off with the NHL real quick. I think this was from this week. Referee Garrett Rank. I think he had, one of the best calls I think ever. He goes on the mic. He goes, "You're not going to like it, but the call on the ice was correct. No goal during the St. Louis Blues Islanders games, or the Islanders game this week. St. Louis was up 4-0. The goal did not count. He made it funny into the crowd, and that's something you gotta be appreciative of. You actually have good referees in the NHL compared to some other sport that we know as I don't know, what am I forgetting the name? NFL. As name
Uh,
with
yeah.
officiating. And the 2026 NHL All-Star Game will be played at UBS Arena in Long Island, New York. So the same year as the World Cup's in Jersey, along the other side of the river, you'll have at UBS Arena the 2026 NHL All-Star Game.
Okay.
So yeah. The Devils are 28, 24, and 4, lost the past 2 games. Have the Canadians today and Tampa Bay tomorrow on MSG. Everywhere else will be on TNT. For non-tri-state area, pretty good numbers in the standings. Right now in the lead for the President's Trophy is either as Vancouver and Boston, both with 80 points apiece. They're tying in for trying to win that President's Trophy. So it'll be either going to Boston or Vancouver the way the standings look this year. But that's
Well,
obviously subject to change.
don't look now, but the Rangers are only like 2 points behind both of those teams. So
1 point.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty crazy there from that standpoint. And for the Devils, I think these are must-to-win games. If not, you will expect Lindy Ruff from the New Jersey Devils to be fired come Monday morning if the Devils lose these 2 games, because that is 4 straight losses following the Stadium Series, and this is not the season that we expect. So just expect that, although we don't have a good goalie. That's just my opinion. Nico Dawes is good, but not at the right time. So just expect that if you're an NHL. So take note of that. If the Devils lose both games this weekend, expect Lindy Ruff to be fired. That is, in my opinion, in my book of notes.
Well, we're also talking about we're talking about the NHL. How about the season Austin Matthews is having?
Absolutely. You cannot question that one. That is a phenomenal season, phenomenal run, and he is going to be a good contender come playoff time, especially with the goals he scored and the performances he had.
And Eli, when we're talking about, he was the fastest to 50 goals in the past 30 years. So second half of the season, it just goes to show when we talked about who the best player in their sport was. It puts into perspective what Wayne Gretzky did when he scored 92 goals in one season. So,
yeah, impressive.
A record that won't be broken, not
Absolutely,
even by Austin
100%.
Matthews.
Nope. Final other couple notes. Kansas City hires former Bills punter Matt Orazia, who was let go for inappropriate allegations. Shocked about that pickup, but apparently they need a punter. And I guess whatever he did in the Super Bowl was not enough.
Okay, but let's talk about that for half a minute, because he was wrongly accused of something that should not have happened.
Right.
I don't know all the backstories, but it did turn out he wasn't even at that place when that terrible thing happened to that young lady. So when somebody gets a second chance, like guys like Ray Lewis and these guys, everybody overlooks that because they're good. This kid had a promising career. I don't have any problem with the Kansas City Chiefs picking him up and giving him an opportunity for to succeed in a sport that again, he was wrongly accused, and that
Right.
I don't think that should derail his opportunities in the NFL. So.
That's good note. Final note from the NFL: the 2024 salary cap was announced at $255.4 million. That is up $30.6 million from last year at $224.8 million. In 2011, the number was $120 million for the salary cap. That increased within at least 13 years by $125 million.
Well, what does that mean? You and I talked exactly about this before the show. What does that mean? That means
people have to start paying so these people can start doing good. And it already started with the parking at MetLife Stadium, not just talking about the NHL Stadium Series, which was $40, but in general. So expect that to be higher. And that is before the World Cup. We still got 2 years for the World Cup. Add that to the parking list. I'm just talking about parking because that's a big factor into the NFL.
Oh, my God. You're right. But that's who, we could talk all we want about the salary cap, but when we talk about having to pay to watch the NFL now and
you got to pay to watch Prime Video,
the prices
Peacock,
you have to pay for tickets and parking and
it's ridiculous.
And concessions, it's outrageous. So
absolutely,
it's getting to the point where the average American family cannot afford to go to an NFL game because it just
Unless
costs
you're
too
the
much.
Giants and Jets, because then you have tickets for $5 a piece. So then you can afford to
Yeah,
go
well,
to
because
the
we
NFL average NFL game. But for another
right,
contest, no.
you got it. Yeah. So
And T. Higgins is from the Bengals, the first player to qualify for the new franchise tag for this year. That's my random points. Jim, go ahead, take it away.
you got it. Good ones. Good ones. Boy, we got a lot of hockey theme today. So I wanted to bring this up because one of the I think he's third on the all-time scoring list. Jaromir Jagr had his number
Okay.
retired by Pittsburgh.
Yes, I was. Yes, I forgot to bring that up. Yep.
Yeah, number 68. And I
Yep.
tell you, this kid was a force to be reckoned with. With him and Lemieux on the same team, they won a couple of Stanley Cups together. I mean, he's still hanging on. He's in his 50s now, but he can't seem to let it go. But he had a great career. Second all-time leader in points, actually, behind Wayne Gretzky. So
You agree with him?
congratulations.
That's a good one. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So another point is I saw this. Obviously, we know that Caitlin Clark is the phenom right now in college women's
Right.
basketball, and it turns out, I mean, and we saw this coming, right? This whole nil thing, and I think it's gotten more out of control in college football than any. But the money and listen, if it's out there, take it. I have no problem with it. But she's making millions of dollars as a college basketball player. It's really amazing. It's the face of what's going on in sports right now, and I would always supported their right to make money on their name, image, and likeness, right?
Yep.
And because they were playing, their image was in video games, and but I don't think it took the course that it was destined to take, and I think that's why some people are saying it costs you could probably make more money being the quarterback at USC like Caleb Williams was than you could in the NFL. So
Yeah.
crazy thing, but wanted to give a shout out to her. And I think we also have a new star in the making. And 4 years from now or 3 years from now, we'll be talking about Juju Watkins at USC, who's just come right out. And I
Yep.
mean, we all know that one of the greatest college basketball women's players was Cheryl Miller, Reggie's sister at USC. She's a freshman. She's the first freshman um, to score multiple 40-point games in a season. So this girl
Yeah.
is lighting it up. So now this is USC. So, I mean, USC was always notably, I'll put it in quotes, say corrupt anyway, with old Reggie
Correct.
Bush and all that kind of thing. But she's going to make a fortune being a college basketball player, a fortune.
Yeah.
Couple other quick things. So we were talking about golf before, and Tiger Woods' son Charlie was trying to qualify for a PGA Tour event. He's only 15, right? 16 maybe.
Wow.
And but it not only was just him, it was Tiger Woods' son Charlie, Matt Kuchar, PGA Tour player, his son, and Mario Lemieux's son, a former great hockey player,
So you know
his
what this
son.
means, Jim? That means we're going to be getting a teenage kids version of PGA golf.
You know what? You're probably right. I didn't even give that.
Because that's 3 kids that wants to play on the PGA Tour. That's enough interest. The fans seem to possibly engage in this. Would not be surprised that becomes a thing. Mark my words.
Oh my God!
And I would not be surprised when like an ESPN takes it over or CBS.
Yeah.
Would not be surprised. But just mark my words. Because you just mentioned 3 kids. Would not be surprised. Mark my words. I will not be surprised if we get a PGA Tour teenage kids edition from the All-Star group. That'll be my pick.
Yeah, that'll be something like the PGA Junior Tour or something.
Yeah, it's a good name.
Hey, listen, you're absolutely right, Eli. People would go to see Tiger Woods' son play golf. Absolutely.
Yeah, because he could be the next great, or not just him. Everybody, they could be the next great, and this is the future generation. It's like the mini version before the big stage, but it's still live on TV. Would not be surprised.
You bet. Yeah, but that's a pretty good perception right there. I didn't even give that some thought. That's a real possibility. which, by the way, would be detrimental to the college golf teams that these kids come out of, right? Because they would bypass college to play
Right.
on a junior PGA Tour event. That's something I didn't give much thought to, but it's
Yeah, but
very,
the
very
way
well
the way
thought.
you brought it up, it just seems possible.
Yeah.
Enough interest. Watch Tiger Woods becomes the commissioner of it.
Well, he's already the commissioner. We know that. Anyway, and one other notable a retirement from the NFL, and a lot of people don't know him, but he played 18 years as probably one of the best special teams players to ever play in the NFL. Matthew Slater, who's been with the Patriots, won probably 4 or 5 Super Bowls, I guess. He was with Brady the whole time. He
100% will get his
retired
number
from
retired.
the league. I don't know, 16 years maybe, something like that. But
He'll get
he
his
was
number retired.
always there. He made almost every special teams tackle for that length of time for Super Bowl winning teams. So you don't rarely get pay attention to guys like that. But he was and Bill Belichick came out and said, no question, he's the best special teams player that I've ever coached. And
He will get his
congratulations
number
to him. He had a
retired.
great career. Great career.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff though, Eli. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna say my movie recommendation. We'll stick with comedy because it makes it funny. But I hadn't seen it in quite a while. But Wayne's World, the first Wayne's World, the second and third are not even worth
Yeah,
watching.
no,
Just like I
not
brought
really.
up with Arthur last week, right? The original was great, but the original Wayne's World is very, very funny, worth watching. That's when Mike Myers was at the top of his game. So it's a movie worth watching.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my movie recommendation.
All right. Before we
So
get to
Eli,
my
you got a couple of pictures that I wanted
yes, we'll
to
start off with
bring
your
up.
photo.
Yeah. And now this is a little throwback picture. That is our sponsor. Looking at the screen on my left, that is the president and CEO of Coriano Trucking. And
Oh wow.
on the other side, that's my youngest daughter, Danielle. That's us at a St. Joe's football game. Oh my God, I don't know, maybe 5, 10 years ago. I don't even know.
Impressive.
That just came out of we find things that we forgotten all
The
about.
archives.
Yeah, that's an archive picture right there.
And here's the
And
Stanley
here
Cup.
we go.
The
Now
Stanley
this
Cup.
is a great picture. Look at this. That's Eli with his dad David at the
Fan
the
Fest.
Stadium
Stanley Cup.
Series, the Stanley Cup. How cool is
Yeah.
that? Must have been a great experience.
A lot of fun. That was one of my favorite all-time moments.
But let's also tell the crowd that it meant so much to you to get that picture. You waited in line
1 hour,
for
folks.
an hour.
It was like waiting for a line to go on a ride in Walt Disney World. Literally, and I calculated it was exactly an hour wait to take a picture with the Stanley Cup. Now, a lot of people did it from the gated side before you can get in, but we want to actually touch the Stanley Cup and be like that real moment. Yeah.
That's
Comment from Eric. Great pictures.
Yeah, that's a very special memory for you and your dad, David. That's great.
Yeah.
Excellent picture. And because we said, when we look at that trophy, that is the hardest trophy to win in sports. And I'll go to my grave by saying that.
Yes, because there's no other trophy that gets reused for every team when they win a championship.
I know. Aren't they starting to run out of space to engrave the names?
I think then they add new layers to it. Like
that's what I thought.
Level or like a bigger bowl. That was where from like how it goes. And I think there's like in the Hall of Fame in Toronto, they have like the chart of how it started with just a bowl and then it just worked its way up to becoming this like tower. It's gonna be huge by the time in a few years.
Yeah, it was pretty funny when Ovechkin won his one and only Stanley Cup. I mean, he was drinking beer out of it. It was going.
People
all
ate
over
ice
the
cream
place.
out of it, cereal.
Yeah,
Jim. If you won the Stanley Cup, what would you eat or drink out of the Stanley Cup?
I'm gonna say a Budweiser.
I'm gonna have to go with my favorite thing in the world: ice cream.
Okay, all right.
Perfect.
Well, I'm a beer guy, so you can have all the ice cream you want.
Yeah. All right. Anybody, feel free to comment on that. What would you, if you win the Stanley Cup, what would you eat or drink out of it?
That's a good question.
Or
Yeah.
comment if you have an answer to it. What would you eat or drink out of the Stanley Cup?
Oh, maybe we should have made that one of our weekly polling things.
Yeah. If we don't get any comments, we'll pull it up for next week. I'll get that in there. Yeah.
Well done. Great picture, though. Nice job.
Yeah.
So we move on to some notable passings, and there's a couple this week. Lefty Driesell, former head coach at Maryland, and second on the all-time wins list at Maryland behind Gary Williams. But Lefty, let's say, kind of controversial. I think that the whole death of Len Bias when he was drafted led them to look closely at his recruiting practices, and so that ultimately cost him his job. But he had a great career at Georgia State, Davidson, right? Steph Curry's alma mater, and James Madison. So Lefty, I didn't even know he was still alive, was 92 years old. So when you look at some of the coaches today, he was back in the Dean Smith, the Mike Krzyzewski era. That's when college basketball was starting to really become on the map from a sports perspective. So Lefty, 93.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was actually he was charismatic. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
And also another one from the world of we talked a little bit more than we usually do about the NBA. Robert Reed. Now, a lot of people are gonna not the Robert Reed that played Mr. Brady on the Brady Bunch. This was Robert Reed, the basketball player for the Houston Rockets, and he was 68 years old. And I certainly remember Robert Reed. He played in the 81 and the 86 finals with the Houston Rockets. They lost both times to the Boston Celtics, but had a great career, and actually only 3 other players played more games in a Houston Rockets uniform than him, and that was Hakeem Olajuwon, Hall of Famer, Calvin Murphy, Niagara graduate, Hall of Famer, and Rudy Tomjanovich, who not a Hall of Famer, probably most well known for being on the receiving end of one of the most violent moments on a basketball court that's ever been seen, when Kermit Washington punched him in the face and just shattered his entire face. It was shocking. But those are players that played more games in a Houston Rockets uniform than Robert Reed. Kind of a shame he didn't get the chance to win the NBA championship, but Larry Bird and those guys had other ideas. So
yeah.
And Eli, one of these that just came in across the wire, Flacco the Owl. Flacco the Owl is the famous bird that escaped the Bronx Zoo when somebody left his cage open. So he was hanging around New York City for over a year. He died at 13 from. I'm making light of it because it's kind of funny, the irony at the end, but he flew into a building. And so Flacco the Owl.
That's got to hurt.
Yeah.
That's got to really hurt. Oh, man.
Ultimately cost him his life. Anyway, so we cover not just sports, we cover wildlife too. And, owls are pretty cool birds. So that's why I wanted to mention that. But listen,
they're birds of a feather that drew
yeah, something like that. Yeah. Owls are pretty cool looking, Anyway, so
get an hour for next time show.
Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff today, Eli, and I think the picture of you with the Stanley Cup and your dad was outstanding, and I'm glad that you shared that with us. And as always, we'd love for our loyal listeners, who is growing week after week.
Yep.
Like I said, I had an extensive, lengthy email from one of our loyal listeners, Jim Walsh from Long Island, and we can't thank those guys enough, because it's them that are propelling us into this momentum that you and I have going. It's a great thing, and I'd love to hear when we get comments from Eric Tenbrook, and I don't even know who wrote the first comment. So that's a new listener, and
yes.
we take those not for granted. So thanks whoever that was on the show. I'd love to be able to let us know your name next time. We'll mention you on the show, but our loyal listeners of the foundation is what we do. So
All right.
listen, Eli, have a great weekend.
Have a good week.
You know, it was like I said,
Fantastic show.
there's more to the sports world than just the NFL, I assure you. Right?
That is correct.
So listen, everybody, send us comments, your thoughts. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Next week. Goodbye.